Welcome back to the Under Review Podcast, episode 85. This week is week 11. After the coach firing, DJ Durkin takes over at Auburn. He plays a highly rated Vandy team. Big conference game between A&M and Missouri as well. And can Mississippi State keep the ball rolling? All that and more when we go under review.
Welcome to the Under Review Podcast, where Saturdays mean everything, rivalries run deep, and the SEC reigns supreme. Hosted by Todd and Marty, two die-hard fans breaking down every snap, storyline, and showdown across the Southeastern Conference. From the swamp to the plains, between the hedges to the bayou, no team is safe when it's under review. Now back to the action with Todd and Marty.
Alright, everybody, like I said, episode 85. Marty is not here with us.
Welcome to the Under Review Podcast, where Saturday...
Alright, get that out of the way. Marty's not here with us. He is in an internet problem, so it would just be me and our special guest. But before we get to that, we're going to have a little bit of situation to take care of, and it's going to be in the hands of the Around the State. So, as we always do, let's throw it around there. I ain't wasting no time today. Alright, as we see, 1-8 Sanford, 2-7 South Alabama, 5-3 Jack State, 6-2 Alabama State, 5-3 West Alabama, 2-7 North Alabama, 3-5 UAB, 4-5 Alabama A&M, and 6-3 Troy. Now, with all that being said, 5 weeks come out of the Sun Belt Conference as Troy and South Alabama both get a bye this week. The first matchup, what looks to be a pitiful game between the Rice Owls, who are 4-5, and they are hosting the 3-5 UAB American Conference matchup, 1 p.m. on the ESPN Plus. That I really don't think this will be a great game, but I think, again, I like UAB here. I think UAB will come in here and actually do some damage. Yes, they had a setback last week with a loss, but with UAB, it's an up and down season. I get it. But you need 3 more wins to make bowl eligibility in 4 games. And I think with a win here against Rice, you should be looking helpful. Rice is a 53% favorite, 2.5 point favorite according to ESPN Sportsbooks. I just like the Blazers here. As you already seen, the 0-8 Lincoln University out of California goes to West Alabama, who's 5-3, 1 p.m. on Flow College. It's not a game. Scott Cochran and the boys versus this Lincoln team. I think the average points is pretty low for this Lincoln team, if I remember correctly. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. Very bad. I think they've scored no more than like 15 in a game. So, pretty confidently that West Alabama should put 45 on them, roughly. I can't even find this game. Know how many 1 p.m. games there is in Division 3? Too many to count. Can't find it. Anyways, it's not a lot of points. Lincoln, they're not a good team. They've had to suspend a game, which was against West Alabama early in the season. But like I said, West Alabama should easily put up 45, 50 points this game. Yep, that does it always. Can't have one string, but not something messing up. Okay, get it. I get it. I get it. Six and three Prairie View goes to Alabama A&M, who's 4-5. It's a SWAC conference matchup on SWAC TV at 2 p.m. I think Prairie View is the better team here, and Prairie View will most definitely win this game. They played a very good Alabama State team last week. Kept into it. Alabama A&M played Alabama State earlier this season. It wasn't even a game, so I think Prairie View will walk this one. Another SWAC TV game at 2 p.m. Texas Southern University 4-4 goes to Alabama State 6-2. Again, same problem with last game. I think Alabama State's a very good team in the SWAC conference, and I think this is going to keep their winning streak alive here as they just roll against Texas Southern. Conference USA matchup 5-3 Jacksonville State versus 2-6 UTEP 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Very bad UTEP Miners team. A very decent Jacksonville State team. With this win, Jacksonville State will be bowl eligible, and it's going to be a good win for. Okay, they're going to say Charles Kelly and the boys. SoCon action as the 4-5 East Tennessee State University Buccaneers go to 1-8 Sanford 2:30 ESPN Plus. Don't even try to watch this game. ETUS will run away with this one. Sanford has been very shoddy at times. All season. The one win, I don't even think they should have won that one. I think they still should be 0-9 this year. But ETUS in this game. United Athletic Conference 6-3 West Georgia versus 2-7 North Alabama 3 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Again, this is one of those games where West Georgia is the better team. West Georgia will win this game, even though they are the away team. North Alabama is not very good this season, so West Georgia will win this one. With all that being said, we're going to take a word from our sponsor, and then we're going to bring on our special guest.
Hey, babe, we got ants.
Okay, kill them.
No, really, there's a lot of freaking ants.
Well, what do you want me to do? I ain't no expert.
Well, fine then. I'll call Tactical Home and Pest.
Go ahead and call Benjamin.
Hey there, this is Ben with Tactical Home and Pest, proud sponsor of Todd and Marty and their Under Review podcast. And can I just say that if the bugs I deal with had referees, I'd be called for targeting. Tactical Home and Pest, 256-592-2842, or visit me at tacticalhomeandpest.com.
All right, thank you, Benjamin, with Tactical Home and Pest for all your pest control needs. All right, now it's time to look inside the SEC with our very special guest, Justin Lee.
What's going on, Todd? How you doing, bud?
Doing good. I don't know if you can see this picture, but I'm very fond of this picture. I like it.
Yeah, I can.
So I took a picture. I think it was you and your family. I think it was, and I cropped it out, and I said, "Cartoon it with a football helmet and a football," and that's what it gave me. And I liked it pretty much.
Hey, it's a lot better than what Marty done last time. I'll tell you that. He done me dirty that last game.
I agree with you. That's why I was trying to help you out a little bit, and I gave you a little bit of red for your red team.
There you go.
All right, so now we're getting into the buys. Like I said, Week 11 inside the SEC: Arkansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Texas. Any of these teams that will be better after this bye?
Honestly, I can't put a finger on the Tennessee, Oklahoma, or Texas team. I mean, Arkansas and South Carolina's already pretty much made their bed for the season. I don't really see much more out of Arkansas and South Carolina. But Tennessee and Oklahoma and Texas, they got too many ups and downs for me. like one game they look good and the next it's just wish-washy. I don't see much out of those teams outside of, none of them's going to the SEC championship, obviously, in my opinion. Not gonna make none of the playoffs, in my opinion, either. I think they're just above average for the SEC conference this year.
I agree with you in that some people saying, "Oh, Texas still has a chance." I don't think Texas has a chance. I don't think Oklahoma has a chance, and Tennessee with that last loss, they don't have a chance anymore. So, those three teams they were in the running. I don't foresee them being there anymore. I think Texas Arch did have a good game last game, surprisingly, after he comes back from concussion protocol. But I think what really hurt one of these teams was Oklahoma, and I always say it was a John Mateer. He was ready to play, but he wasn't ready to play at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he flashes that.
Yeah. And it was the Texas game. I think he came back too early, and if he waits, he don't play that game. Maybe even Michael Hawkins Jr. still leads Oklahoma to a victory, or could lead Oklahoma to a victory. I don't know. It's up in the air. It's if and buts were candies and nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that Red River rivalry is the same as the Iron Bowl. You just never know at any time, any year. When that game comes up, it's always a coin toss. It don't matter if somebody's having a good year or a bad year. When it comes to that game, just like the Iron Bowl, like I said, it's just anybody's game at that given point in time.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Well, let's get into our first matchup. The 4-5 The Citadel versus 8-1 7-ranked Ole Miss Rebels. 12 o'clock on the SEC network.
I mean, you said it best. 4-5. Lane Kiffin's going to do Lane Kiffin things. He's going to put up easily probably 45, 50 points. You're not going to stop Trinidad Chambliss from doing what he's been doing all year. And if I ain't mistaken, I looked earlier, the quarterback is their second leading rusher on the team as a whole and still has 6 touchdown rushes. But stopping Keywan Lacey and stopping Chambliss, that's going to be too much for Citadel to do. I expect Ole Miss to blow them out of the water by at least 30.
At least, like you said, Keywan Lacey has 863 yards, 13 touchdowns, and then, like you said, Chambliss is second, 435 with 6 touchdowns. Which, Austin Simmons is fifth on the list, and he hasn't even played in that many games. He's fifth on the list with 16 carries.
Yeah, and I know I hate to use the word bench because bench is kind of hard to use, but Chambliss really just took over that quarterback role and just took off with it, and he's done really well with Lane Kiffin at the helm calling play.
Yeah, so I agree with you. 98% chance for Ole Miss to win this game via ESPN, and I'm gonna take that. I'm not a betting man by no means, but 8-1 SEC team, you're at home. There's really no reason that you should lose to a 4-5 The Citadel. And I keep saying The Citadel because that is actually their name. It is The Citadel. I don't understand what. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And there was a reason, in my perspective, that this wasn't inside of our top games, but it's an SEC matchup. 5-3 LSU goes to 4th ranked 7-1 Alabama Crimson Tide inside Bryant-Denny, 6:30 on ABC.
Yeah, with Brian Kelly's firing, what team are you going to get? LSU, like you said, being in Bryant-Denny Stadium, not game. I might give them a little bit of a chance if it was in Baton Rouge, night game. I maybe, you just never know with the Bayou down there. But being in Tuscaloosa, turnovers haven't been a problem for Alabama this year with the offense as much as it was in years previous. Todd Simpson seems to have real good control of the offense. I know we're lackluster at times. Especially, 2 weeks ago when we were playing South Carolina, and maybe a bye week helped us out. Maybe this week, I'm not sure. we'll see. But I think the key player that is starting to get more playing time for Alabama is Daniel Hill. He's really showing some flashes and making some good plays at good times. And I think the lack of offense for LSU and the control of time on Alabama's offense, I see Alabama covering the spread easy on this one.
Yeah, and that spread is 10.5 points in favor of Alabama. Alabama is an 80% favorite via ESPN. And like you said, Ty Simpson is putting up stellar numbers. I covered this Sunday. I think Ty Simpson keeps going the way he's going. He is very much a Heisman winner based on not a Heisman moment, but based on Heisman consistency play. And I'm not an Alabama fan. Me and you argue every single day about this because I like giving you crap about it. But to be honest, you are right. Ty Simpson is that guy this year. I would have, he would have to fall down and for something to happen for him not to win that Heisman. I really do think.
I agree. He's not putting up stellar numbers. I mean, let's be honest. He's not putting up 400 or 500 yards passing every week, 4 or 5 touchdowns. I mean, he's not doing nothing crazy, but he's controlling the offense and he's controlling it in a matter where it matters most. He's not putting the team in bad situations. He's not going out of the way and doing anything crazy. He's putting up 235, 300 yards every game. He's making passes when he needs to make them, and that's critical.
Like I said, consistently good. No, I said it best. Consistently great play, and it's not like I said. It's not one game where he's like, "Oh, this is my Heisman performance." Now, granted, it might be in a couple weeks when they play Northern Illinois or whatever that team is y'all got coming down there. But I mean, I don't even think he'll play the whole first quarter. That's how good Alabama is this season. The most he's thrown in a game was 382 against Wisconsin, and he had 4 touchdowns that game. And was all that in the first half?
I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember that off the top of my head. I was touch and go on that game. I was working that day.
Right.
But I believe it was, and that, if my memory serves me correctly, was that not the game after Florida State?
No, that was the game after Louisiana Monroe. Louisiana Monroe, which he only played again 2 quarters, so it might have been he played 3. I don't know, but he was like 11 for 11 against Louisiana Monroe at one point. Just perfect passer rating, but they won 73-0.
Yeah, and I guess that's when that was the moment when Kalen DeBoer was like, you know what, let's take the cap off of it. Let's flex our muscles a little bit and show the world that we are a team. We did look horrible against Florida State, but we are a team that can contend.
Right. Step aside one last time, and then we're going to get in our 5 games of the week, and then we're going to get into our interstate game of the week as well. Just hang on with us.
This episode of the Under Review podcast is brought to you by Chuck's Heating and Air. Chuck has over 40 years of service and experience with residential services. He services most makes and models. He is Alabama licensed, bonded, and insured, and locally owned and operated. Are you hot and you're supposed to be cool? Are you cool and you're supposed to be hot? Then you've got a problem. Call Chuck. Area code 256-892-2757. Again, 256-892-2757. Chuck's Heating and Air.
Again, thank you for Chuck's Heating and Air for being a sponsor. 256-892-2757. In the words of Hunter and Peyton Brassfield, go Chuck, go. I don't know why it keeps going backwards. But games of the week. Let's see what we got here. All right. I talked about earlier the Mississippi State game. SEC Conference 7-1 5th-ranked Georgia Bulldogs goes into Davis Wade Stadium 5-4 Mississippi State 11 a.m. on ESPN.
Man, I'll be honest with you. I know Mississippi State's 5-4 on the season, but they really look like a better team of a Mississippi State that we haven't seen in years. I mean, honestly, since probably Dak Prescott and Mullen era. I mean, they've played solid ball at times, and they're well rounded on the running back side with Fluff Bothwell with 490 yards rushing, and Devon Booth with 475. And they're both 6 touchdowns and 7 touchdowns apiece. But if Blake Shapen can't quit turning over the ball with interceptions is my biggest key takeaway. Now, I might be biased. I think Georgia's got away with a couple games in the last couple weeks. They've had tight games the last 3 games they've played. Uh, Georgia ain't the Georgia of years past. And I don't think no team really is. But I mean, I think Georgia wins this game by 14 plus. I don't know what the spread is exactly, but I think Georgia's going to do Georgia things at the.
Yeah, I think Mississippi State, like we said, they're a really good ball team. They could have won the Tennessee game. Definitely should have lost the Texas A&M game 31-9. But they could have also won Florida and Texas. I think 2 of those games go their way. This Mississippi State team is sitting at what, 7-2 at this point.
At least.
That's a good record for a Mississippi State team. Especially, I feel like this year is a year for like a Mississippi State team to actually be good. With some of the teams being down, Kentucky, Arkansas, Auburn, all these teams being down, leaves a space open for somebody like Mississippi State to bump up and get out of that bottom 3. But on the other hand, on Georgia, their record should be totally different as well. They could have lost to Tennessee. Definitely should have won against Kentucky. They won that one 35-14. Could have lost to Auburn. Could have lost to Ole Miss. And could have lost this past week. So that's what. Say they lose half. Oh, well, that's 4. Plus the
4 games.
It changes.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a 4-3 record or a 4-4 record at that point. Things change quickly in the SEC.
Right. But on the other hand, the spread is 7.5 for Georgia. Georgia's also a 78% chance to win this game. The only reason that I'm feeling a little bit towards Mississippi State in this, Mississippi State's also showing a kind of grit, especially late in that Arkansas game. They got their first SEC win. Jeff Lebby finally got his first SEC win as an SEC head coach. First win in 16 tries for Mississippi State inside the Southeastern Conference, dating back to 2023, but their last one was also against Arkansas. But to get that done last week, I don't know. I really feel like if they can catch Georgia, if they can catch the Georgia that showed up to play at Auburn, they can beat them.
Them cowbells get loud.
Yeah. I think if they play the Georgia that showed up last week inside the world's largest cocktail party, they can beat them.
I didn't agree with the ending of Florida's coaching calls of that game. I think they should have kicked that field goal to put them down. I think it was 1, or at the time, I think it would have put them up 6. But, Georgia came back, got a touchdown, whatever the case might be. I got some of the timeline mistaken. But either way, it would have put them down, I think, 24-23. And, Florida got the ball back late in the fourth quarter where, it pushes a different mode where you had to get a touchdown or just getting a field goal.
Yep.
Change your whole game calls there. I think Florida could have easily came and won that game if coaching would have been called just a little differently there at the end. I agree. Georgia is not Georgia of years past. Mississippi State can come in there and they can put it on them.
Yeah, see, even Marty's saying right here, Marty's watching from Facebook, he says it's even a trap game, which, like I said, that's what I believe. I think, if Mississippi State can play like they have been playing, I think it's just a little bit better play from Blake Shapen, a little bit better decision-making. But Georgia shows up with the Georgia against Florida and the Georgia against Auburn. I think Mississippi State will actually win this game. Now, if Georgia shows up with the offense that showed up in the Tennessee game, I don't think Mississippi State has a chance.
And no pun intended, this could be a dogfight.
Hey, I like it. Didn't even think of it. I agree. But it's an early game, something for you to get up and watch. And usually, those early games are, Ole Miss versus the Citadel, which it is. But I feel like this game, it being early as well, could also lead into, like Marty said, a little bit of a trap version of his game. Because them
I
early
agree.
SEC games are not fun. Now we got 4-5 Auburn coming off of firing of Hugh Freeze. DJ Durkin is interim head coach, who, as an interim head coach, he is 1-0 at Florida in 2014. As a head coach, it's a whole different story. We ain't talking about that. Versus the 15th ranked Vanderbilt Commodores, who are 7-2 at First Bank Stadium, 3 p.m. on the SEC network.
Man, I'll be honest with you. On this game here, I don't know if there's much of a conversation to be had. I'm obviously an Alabama fan, but I believe DJ Durkin, with the defense he leads, I think he could be potentially the head coach of the future of Auburn, depending on how they season. But Vandy being at home this year, they have not lost at home. They look good at home. So the only two losses they've had is at Bama and Texas, both road games. I see Vandy probably winning this one by 10 plus, just by the lackluster of Auburn's offense. If Auburn's offense could find some kind of pace to match their defensive play, their record would not be a 4-5 record, in my opinion. They are a very good defensive team, but their offense is just so non-existent at times.
That is true, and that's what one of the things that Durkin kind of brings when he comes in. He's not an offensive play caller. So this is directly going to be relying on Derek Nix, the offensive coordinator, calling plays. He don't have Hugh Freeze to call back on. I think, I looked while I was at work the other day, me and a couple buddies, over the past 40 championships. So, as I mean that, if you won multiple, as in Nick Saban, your time at LSU and Alabama, that counts as one coach past 40 years, okay? Only 4 coaches during that time frame that were calling the offense won a national championship. 4 over 40 years. Tom Osborne was the name, Nebraska head coach. Joe Paterno, Penn State. I can't remember the other ones, but it took me forever to find it, so definitely can't go and find it now. But I think the last one was early 2010s, a little bit later maybe.
Could have been Urban Meyer.
I think it was Urban Meyer or Jimbo. I don't think it was Jimbo, so it could have been Urban Meyer. But, it's something that I think if you want to be an offensive coordinator, be the offensive coordinator. But if you want to lead your guys and, lead your offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators and let them you got to let them do their job. If you want to call plays, go be a coordinator. If you want to lead your guys into battle, be a head coach.
And that's where I struggle with Dabo Swinney with Clemson. Years past, it was near about a dogfight every season who's going to win the championship between them and Alabama. Then Georgia came into the picture as well.
Right.
And it's like, last 2 seasons, 3 seasons, Clemson just hadn't been there. And I'm not saying it's Dabo by no stretch, but, at head coach position, at what point in time do you step back and say, all right, is it players or is it coaching that's really causing our problem? And I think truly with Auburn's, roster and what they have as players on the team, they have quality players, in my opinion. And I'm an Alabama fan.
Yeah.
They've got quality players, but they got their defense figured out, but can they just ever find their offensive rhythm?
I say Marty said Kenny Dillingham and Nix. My thing is I don't like I like Kenny Dillingham. I think he was good. He was a good offensive coordinator at Auburn. What I'm thinking is if DJ Durkin can win 2 of these last 3 games, whether i.e. beat Vandy, Mercer's gotta win, and then Alabama or Vandy. If you win one of those games and you beat Mercer, if you win all 3, great. But if he wins 2 of those, I think he deserves the head coaching job. I think with that, by this time, Dabo Swinney, who, like he was talking about earlier, head coach, he don't want to adopt the transfer portal. That's his problem. So it's players coming in, but they're young players, but he can't keep his players around like he used to. Bring him in as offensive coordinator, and then have a Durkin, him, and go find you some young defensive guy that wants to learn. Zach Etheridge, maybe bring him back or something. I don't know. And then that's your team. Me personally, I like the way DJ Durkin calls plays, so I wouldn't want to give up his duties as calling defense because, no team scored more than 24 points, but we still have 5 losses. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
not the defensive problem.
well, and take it back to Nick Saban era. I mean, Nick Saban still had his hand in the cookie jar when it came to defense.
Right.
He still let his defensive coordinators do their jobs. So, Nick Saban was the best at managing overall the whole team as a whole. Now, obviously, he probably didn't have a single say in offense. He's just not an offensive-minded coach. But that's why I like DJ Durkin in that position at Auburn because he just seems like a more well-rounded coach that can do more than just one thing.
Right. The numbers for Vegas is 6.5 for Vandy and a 70% via ESPN for Vandy. Again, I like Auburn's chances, but I think if they can't figure it out, I'm gonna pick Vandy. The smart decision here. That also reminds me, I need to get our pick 'em up. I have not.
We don't want to talk about last week. Ooh, that was horrible.
Everybody had a bad week last week. Another SEC conference game, the Battle of the Mediocres. 3-5 Florida versus 3-5 Kentucky at Kroger Field, 6:30 on the SEC Network. So the reason that this one is here over the Alabama LSU game, I think very strongly, if Florida somehow beats Kentucky, which they should, and I'm talking about beats the brakes off of them, like I'm thinking that could happen this game, I think Mark Stoops will get fired.
But I mean, honestly, though, you look at Florida and Kentucky's records for the season, and you look at the teams they played, and you break it down stat for stat. I mean, they both of them have 4 losses against ranked teams at points in time throughout the season.
Right.
So it's like they're not playing slouches. They're not messing up against a UAB team or uh, uh, a Tennessee Tech or anything like that. They're playing ranked opponents and they're just losing. But my thing is DJ Lagway has to quit turning over the ball, but he also has to quit holding on to the ball until the last second and sitting in the pocket until the pocket's collapsed around him.
That's a common thing inside the SEC.
His decision making slow.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. You said DJ Lagway, 10 touchdowns, 9 interceptions on the season. And then flip it over to, Cutter Boley, the true freshman. 10 for 7 on the season, touchdowns to interception ratio. Have you watched any of Kentucky play this year?
I think I've watched maybe a quarter, maybe 2.
So Cutter Boley, like I said, true freshman. He's getting SEC game experience this year, which is dangerous. Lagway got it last year, but Lagway was also in the midst of a coaching firing, which they didn't let him go. But same thing with Cutter Boley here. I think Cutter Boley has a better upside than DJ Lagway because Cutter Boley's deep ball is absolutely beautiful. I've watched a lot of Kentucky. They are my second team. The numbers 3.5 for Florida via Vegas, 58% via ESPN.
Well, if you look at numbers though, really though, I mean, like you said, Cutter's only started 4 games? With my numbers I looked at earlier, he came in a little bit in one game that he started the last 4, and he nearby has the same passing yards as DJ started every game this season. I think DJ started every season at least. I mean, every time I've cut the game on and Florida's been on, DJ's been at the helm of the offense. I think whoever turns the ball over the least will win.
Now, see, you saying that. Now, both of these teams will turn the ball over. But, yeah, DJ has started every single game. Cutter Boley, on the other hand, has not. Zach Calzada, he started a couple weeks. But I think ever since switching to Cutter Bowley, you know, should have beat Texas, could have beat Tennessee. They did beat Auburn. You know, again, those 2 wins, their record's 5-3 instead of 3-5, and that's quality wins against a Texas team that was ranked at the time, a Tennessee team that was ranked at the time. So, I mean, I'm gonna go Kentucky because I need to see them win this game, but realistically, it could be Florida. I think Florida.
I have Florida winning this one.
Seven and 1 Navy goes to 6-2 Notre Dame, 6:30 NBC. I didn't put their ranking up there. I don't think they should.
I mean, honestly, I feel like this is a no-brainer. I mean, honestly, it's got to be Notre Dame, right? You know, Navy hadn't played nobody all season. Notre Dame's only 2 losses were in the first 2 games of the season. Yeah, I mean, exactly. They lost to North Texas last week. I mean, but Navy's offense, looking at numbers before we started, you know, their whole offense runs behind their quarterback. He is the leading passer and rusher on that team. Everything runs through the quarterback. So if Notre Dame can cover that quarterback and play high, that game's going to be a wrap. But I don't think it's going to be what the spread says it's going to be. The spread says it's going to be 26.5. I don't see it being.
I don't see it being that bad. ESPN has them 96% favorite in favor of Notre Dame. He said 26.5-point favorite for Notre Dame. I think Blake Horvath is a quarterback that you see that you want at Navy. You know, 1,011 passing yards. You know, 1,100. Sorry, my numbers got confused. 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Navy don't usually pass the ball that lot. 962 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns. You know, Blake Horvath is the quarterback, like I said, that can run a triple option offense. Because he has the legs, he has the arm. It's not a great arm, but you don't need a great arm when you run a triple option offense. You know, back in the days with the Georgia Techs, you know, Army still runs it, Air Force, and all these other teams. You don't need a great arm. You need somebody to get you 5 or 6 yards on second or third down to make third or fourth down even closer. You know, but like you said, I like Navy. If Navy can pull off the upset in this quote unquote rivalry, I will be happy. But I just don't see it happening. So I'm gonna go Notre Dame.
I don't either. Marcus Freeman, he seems to come in and play his best when his back's against the wall. And you know, when they lost to Miami and Texas A&M, it's not like they got blown out. You know, they lost by like 3 against Miami and 1 by Texas A&M.
Yeah.
I mean, they were both close games. Notre Dame is not a horrible team by no stretch. Now, do I think their record would still reflect the same if they played in the SEC? No. I don't think they're a SEC caliber team. But again, they're playing Navy. Navy ain't played nobody all season either. So, but I think Notre Dame does win this game, and I think they win by 10 plus, but I don't think they're going to cover the spread of 26.5.
If they do, I'll really be surprised.
Me and you both.
SEC conference matchup: 8-0 third-ranked Texas A&M versus 19th ranked 6-2 Missouri Tigers. 2:30 on the ABC network.
I didn't know how to feel about this game, Todd. I'll be honest with you. Watching Mizzou play the way they play, they show flashes of having that capability of being being in SEC championship game, not winning it, but being there. Texas A&M, I mean, Marcel Reed really does look like that guy at times.
Yeah.
You know, Marcel Reed really can get fast and nasty with it. He can get you those 5-6 yards when you need it. And he'll sit there back there in the pocket and drop a 50-yard bomb on you. And it's like, dang, I'm playing a spy up the middle to keep that guy from coming. Then he just drops a bomb over the top. And what do you do about it? Texas A&M does look like almost a real well-rounded team, but it's at Mizzou. The crowd's going to be in it. It's going to be rowdy. It's going to be loud. But I still just don't think Mizzou's got enough to hang with Texas A&M just because of Marcel Reed.
Well, the thing is, with Bo Beulah being injured last week, if it has to come down to Matt Zollers, 213 yards on the season, 2 touchdowns. He's a 6'4", 214-pound quarterback. He didn't play terrible in their last matchup against Vandy. I think he could have led them to, could have tied the game right there at the end. If Bo Beulah was in the game, I don't know. I think he could. If I say Zollers could, I think he could as well. But at the same time, there was nobody scored in this game. It was 17-10 against Vandy. Diego Paglia scores right there at the end, near the end of the game. But that was it. It was a hard-fought defensive matchup. That was a really good defensive game. But flipping on the other side of the Texas A&M ball, Texas A&M's rolling, and they're rolling good. Marcel Reed, Ruben Owens, Le'Veon Moss when he's healthy, Mario Carver, KC Concepcion, Terry and York on that defense. This team is firing on all cylinders, and could possibly be, as of Tuesday, when the college football playoff polls come out, they could be number 1. I could see, based on schedule.
I wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't disagree, and I wouldn't be mad at it neither. Texas A&M has played good ball all season, and I would take them over Ohio State because who's Ohio State played? They've only played one ranked opponent all season, and that was Texas, and that was the first week of the season. Ohio State hadn't played nobody. They to me they haven't flexed their muscles to say, hey, we deserve to be number 1. Texas A&M has. They've won statement games, and they've won games. Could have been ugly at times, but they still won them. And it's SEC game is hard, but I think if Marcel Reed can limit down some more of those interceptions and make some key plays at right times, and his speed is lightning quick. Nobody can really keep up with Marcel Reed when he gets that motor going.
No,
So
it's hard for Auburn to do that.
He and we're talking about Ty Simpson earlier. As far as the Heisman candidacy, I think Marcel Reed's name should be there.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's one of those that you wouldn't see up there, but I think I'd put him at 3rd behind Mendoza from Indiana.
Yeah, and I haven't watched no Indiana games all year. I've seen their stat lines and I've seen their scoring capabilities of what they've got. We'll see in due time, when playoffs start and what it seems like in 2 months,
Yeah.
or a month now since we're already in November. We'll see when we play good competition. But that's one thing. Texas A&M, they are battle tested. They have played tough games where other teams haven't. So that's where I give Texas A&M an edge over majority of teams because they've been there. They've done that.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. Points, the spread wise, 6.5 in favor of Texas A&M, 56 by ESPN. I think Texas A&M could go over that spread with Bo Beulah being out. Again, I think if Bo Beulah plays in this game, I'm still gonna pick Texas A&M, but I think it would be a closer matchup. I think Zollers, like I said, he's a true freshman coming in. Played against Vandy, but now Vandy don't have that great of a defense. They got a pretty good one, but Texas A&M has statistically one of the better defenses inside the SEC. So I think Zollers is going to get shook. Might throw a couple interceptions. I say Texas A&M probably going to blow it up by 21.
I do agree. Whether Bo Prepula plays or the true freshman plays, I think Texas A&M covers the spread regardless.
Right.
Uh, I think by 10 at the minimum.
Like I said, that's all we got for y'all tonight. I want to thank you for jumping on here, and even though it's just us two, but helping us out here and filling in another week. Double duty this year.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm glad I was able to come on and talk sports. I love sports. I mean, you talk about it off of this podcast too. We with that all
Probably about 5 or 6 hours a day,
at least. At least.
on and off, because we got jobs and stuff. But throughout the day, we'll text for a couple hours here, and then pick up the same conversation an hour later.
Yep, yep. Like it never left off.
I mean, we get it. We got jobs, we got families. We got other stuff that we don't sit there and double text. If we need something, we'll call each other.
Yeah, I know if Todd gives me a call, it's something important. Those phone calls come very far in between.
Yeah, I don't call people a lot. But again, I want to thank you. I want to thank God for bringing us here this week. Making us or letting us wake up and do what we got to do to provide for our family and get through our everyday lives. I want to thank the wives and the girlfriend. Girlfriend, yeah.
Yep, yep.
For getting us through the week and still in one piece. Hunter Brassfield, Nicholas Adams over at the Dadpod. Go check them out. Also, HCS Media, Hayden Coker, every Thursday night, 7 o'clock, live from Pell City, Buffalo Wild Wings. And then our sponsors, Chuck's Heating and Air, Tactical Home and Pest, and then the creative team, Marty, is usually here, he's not here, Brandon Trammell, Jud Dickinson, and Cody Mailer. But with all that being said, we'll see you next time when we go under review.